I want to welcome everybody to the January All Hands Look Ahead meeting. I know we've got a lot of supporters on the line here. We usually do this meeting with just leadership and staff and some of the super volunteers, state volunteer coordinators, but we kind of wanted to open it up to some of our supporters, people who have been able to keep us in business, and we really appreciate that. And we will be taking questions after we run through the agenda, but we think it's helpful for you to know exactly what we've been up to over the last month. If you have questions, you can put them on chat. I'm going to ask Kimmy to document any questions you see coming in chat, and then you can just ask them at the end. So we'll do our best to get through it while not taking too long. So as many of you know, we have been very active on the J6 front. We've been, I think, the national leader, unfortunately, the only organization outside of our friends at CAPP that have taken a leadership role on this, and this has gone all the way back about a year since we first opened up a front on this issue, asking for the Department of Justice and FBI to drop all charges against nonviolent offenders. This has historically been done. Protesting the Department of Justice, doing our rally at the D.C. prison, the first one, with about a dozen rallies around the country, then doing our major rally at the Capitol, which corresponded to, I think, 17 corresponding rallies around the country, to doing our January 6th anniversary vigil, which corresponded to 35 events around the country. I'm actually going to assign to Ian right now. Let's get a total of the total number of events we've held on J6 so far, because it's a lot. And because of our work, we've seen increasingly the public is understanding this grave injustice that's been committed. We're seeing increasingly people who are in Congress, but more importantly, people running for Congress articulating this as an issue when they're running, because that's really where the power comes from. This is where the only place we effectively can make any change. We can't walk into courtrooms, we can't walk into the DOJ, we can't go fire judges or prosecutors, but we can influence what the public thinks, and that then has consequences in elections, which are ultimately determinative of everything. So I get asked a lot, well, what are you going to do next? Just more rallies, more vigils, and while we do have been engaging in some small activities such as our petition to the United Nations and our podcast where we're documenting many of the victims of this political persecution, we're about to turn the temperature up to about 500 degrees Kelvin on this issue. Because all this time we've been working on it, we've been fertilizing and plowing a field. That field is the American public, to help them understand the gross injustice that have been perpetrated. But now it's time to start harvesting that crop. And that comes in the form of something that we release things early here ahead of time because it's important that you guys know what we're doing. But we plan to roll this out probably in February because we've got a few other things we've got to get done this month. But beginning in February, we're formally going to roll out what we call the J6 question. And that is where we will train our activists all over the country, anybody interested in this issue, to confront people running for federal office, House or Senate, incumbent or challenger, and ask them on video what they are going to do for the victims of political persecution. And then feed that video back to us, and we will create a national index of candidates answering the J6 question and making that available to the public and making those videos appear to the public. We've gotten so far little emails back and forth with members of Congress where they've done, in many cases, I think, a fantastic job humiliating themselves with their ignorance of the issues, and we've been able to highlight that. But we're going to expand that. It is our hope that everybody running for office gets confronted with this question, and they have to answer it on the record. And I'm very excited to be launching our J6 question project starting probably in February, but hey, you heard about it. And if you go to a candidate forum, because this is an election year, and you have a federal officer running or federal candidate, go ahead and ask them and just get your camera rolling. Because this is where we have an impact. This is where we hold these people feet to the fire. And look, I've worked in federal elections going back to 1994. This is like my 15th or 16th cycle. Many of these people running for office, and many of the incumbents, they're cowards. And they're cowardly in a very specific way in that they lack so much moral compass. And we know this is true because of how few of them have engaged on this issue. They lack so much of a moral compass that if one person brings up an issue at a town hall meeting or something like that, it's on their radar. 2 or 3 people do that, it is a 4-alarm fire to these people. They do not know how to handle that, and they start to panic, and they start to react. If we do it correctly, they're going to react in the correct way. That's just the reality of it. I wish we had better politicians, but that's just the case. So by raising the temperature on them, it will get them to act and take concrete steps and make concrete commitments to what they're going to do on this issue. Next up, what we're launching this month. Many of our states, for those who don't know, they're led by state volunteer coordinators. And over the next several months, each of them are choosing a state-based issue focus and putting together an action plan that will allow people who are new to the political process to get engaged with community organizing. Zero to hero, from the couch to the city hall to the state legislature, to get engaged with advancing America First causes. And many states have chosen election integrity. Other states, though, the state volunteer coordinator says, look, I'm really troubled by the CRT that we're finding at the school board level. And I want to take the fight to each of the school boards in my state where we have volunteers. So we have formulated a plan for that at the national level, and we're helping educate our state volunteer coordinators on how to engage. And the basics of our effort here is that we are not just anti-CRT. It's not enough just to be anti one particular program, because if in its absence, you probably just have something just as bad fill the vacuum. What's important is that we have a robust pro-America curriculum in all of our public schools. And the way we go about advancing that as a relatively small and new organization is that we take a resolution to each school board, to school board members, to the school board as a whole, and ask them to vote on it. Because by voting on it, this resolution, it will illuminate to the public where those school board officials stand, as well as set the tone for the education in each of those counties, assuming that it passes. Now, what's great about resolutions? Great about resolutions as opposed to, say, laws, is that they don't have to be written in legalese. They don't have to go through a panel of lawyers. It's as simple as the school board expressing its sentiment. Now, the draft of this resolution took a lot of time, and I want to give a shout out to Aaron. I want to give a shout out to Ian. I want to give a shout out to Ashley, many of the individuals who helped us compose it. So I'm actually going to read to you this resolution, and I want to make it clear, this is not simply anti-CRT. This is pro-America. So, resolution regarding the teaching of American history in your school district. A resolution providing general guidance to the faculty and administrators employed in this school district on the education of our students regarding the history of the United States of America. Whereas the United States of America is the greatest nation in the history of mankind. Whereas the philosophical, political, and cultural foundation born of and handed down by our founders has delivered us and our citizens a land of peace, prosperity, and justice that must be preserved. Whereas, while slavery found in our early years originated from Africa and the Middle East, where it is still practiced today, the people of our nation eradicated that evil practice from our shores at great cost and set the example for liberty and freedom for the world. Whereas the kindness, generosity, and spirit of the American people has welcomed more immigrants and refugees than all other nations combined and given them the opportunity to become sons and daughters of the greatest country on earth. Whereas there's no nation that has done more to ensure peace, freedom, safety, and prosperity of fellow nations around the world. Whereas the mother and father are the first educators and stewards in a child's life and should be respected as such. America's founding fathers referenced Cicero in outlining the family as the seminary of the republic. Habits and morals in the home reflect upon the child in early development. Whereas it is acknowledged that the family is to be supported and their counsel sought first in pursuit of the child's education before any other advisements of institutional education. Whereas the United States Constitution shall be studied thoroughly at all grade levels, to outline that the Founding Fathers created the document to limit government, not to give its citizens rights. Our inalienable rights come only from the Creator. And finally, whereas our nation's enemies, foreign and domestic, seek to poison our nation's young people's minds, to indoctrinate them to express hate for America, its founders, its sacred institutions, and its culture through deceit and lies perpetuated through mainstream media, corrupt unelected bureaucrats, partisan hacks, and charlatans posing as educators. Be it resolved that the primary educational mission of this school is to instill in our students a pride in the nation that our founders have created and to develop a clear, unbiased understanding of America's glorious history and the promise it holds for untold generations to come. We must instill in our students a love and respect of this nation, its history, institutions, culture, people, and future, and to embrace the great honor it is to live not just in this nation, but for this nation, to work tirelessly to preserve and protect it, and as our founders did, pledge to its survival our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor. That isn't just anti-CRT. That is muscular pro-Americanism. We must resonate this throughout every school district in the country that we have reach. So if you are in a state where your state volunteer coordinator has selected CRT, or if you're not and you just want to go take this and run with it, we will help you do that. We are here to support you. It's not enough to be on defense. We must go on offense, and that is exactly what this resolution allows you to do. So how do you do it? Well, that gets me to my next point before I start handing it over to some of the other very important people who are here to speak. We will be doing our first ever national training conference the first weekend of March, Dallas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, a stone's throw from the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, for you to spend some quality time with myself and some of the other leaders at Look Ahead America, where we will train you on how to do community organizing, soup to nuts, and you will walk out of there with a certificate as an advanced community organizer certified by Look Ahead America. And what's most important is not just that you walk out of there as a qualified community organizer, but that you can teach other people to engage in America First community organizing as well. Now, this ain't CPAC. We're not bringing in special congressional speakers or other conservative, quote-unquote, celebrities. This isn't Turning Point USA. It's not going to be a rock star concert or anything like that. It's going to be very challenging couple of days. That Friday night, we'd like folks to arrive. We get started Saturday morning. We work all Saturday. We work all Sunday. We will be providing you with free food. We will be very intensely working with you to help you educate. It's going to be very difficult. And the reason we're doing it in Dallas-Fort Worth at the hotel, we have a discount rate to make it very cheap, is to make it cheap because we want you to be there. We want you to show up. The cost to you for attending this is $0. Look Ahead America, through our national budget, will be funding it to fund the room. The only thing you have to cover is getting yourself to the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, getting a ride, probably on a shuttle, to this mid-level 3-star hotel we're holding it at, and getting yourself a room and accommodations. And honestly, we'll help connect you with others if you want to share a room to keep costs even lower. This is not a moneymaker for us in any way. This is because we need to get you people trained so you can be effective on the ground. And we are happy to do it. It is our central mission. Kimmy, do we have the dates?
Yes. Friday, March 4th through Sunday, March 6th, and I'm also including that in the chat section of this meeting.
Thanks, and we'll be following up with the hotel stuff. We'll come up with some sort of way to register people, make sure they're real. Basically, we'll probably ask you to show us your accommodation, and if that's the evidence that you're really coming, so we don't basically fill up our limited capacity. 50, maybe more, maybe up to 100 people that weekend. I mean, we may have some special guests. Who knows, right? But the entire focus of this is going to be to work, to train, to do, to break out into little work groups and work together, and to basically become much better at this than you ever were before, so you can go forward and teach others. With that, enough from me. I'm now going to hand it over to our new National Field Director, Miss Julie Fisher, who does a wonderful job managing our field program, as well as managing the very aggressive voter registration program overall in the state of Arizona. Miss Julie, please take it away.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, with our J6 Vigils, we had some great pictures and videos. So rather than putting them in the Signal chat, and I'm trying to find a way to organize them so they're also available in an online photo album, I just set up an email address for lookaheadamerica@gmail.com. and I'll put that in the update letter in the morning as well. But if you want to send your pictures and videos to that email address, Kimmy and I are working to catalog those so we can refer back to them and enjoy all of our progress. Also, we have an SVC resources link. The document that Matt just read you, as well as all the other awesome documents that Ian is preparing for you, are in this SVC resources folder, and they'll be separated out by category. So I will also put that link in your letter. So next, Brandon from Georgia, our Souls to the Polls Space Outreach Director.
All right, thanks, Julie. So yeah, just an update on what's known as our Georgia Patriotic Souls to the Polls initiative. This is the brainchild of Matt Brainerd himself, and we have met with quite a bit of success here as of late. The purpose of, for those that may not be aware of this, just to bring you up to quick speed here, is the Patriotic Souls to the Polls is an effort to open up Sunday voting to all 159 counties in Georgia. Currently, right now, there's 16 counties that were able to do Sunday voting in Georgia in the last election cycle. The majority of them, with the exception of one of those 16 counties, were highly progressive counties. These counties, especially a lot of political operatives in these counties, really used that as a way to push progressive voter get out the vote efforts. So this is really just an effort to equalize the vote and make it fair for all the counties in Georgia. And so we have targeted 10 of the top counties in population in Georgia, where we are going to the election boards of each of these counties, and we're presenting our case as to why it's only fair for the voters of those counties to have access, just as these other 16 counties have done. Just to bring you up to speed, Cherokee County, which is the largest populous county of the 10 that we targeted, approved Sunday voting in November. Hall County, which was one of our other targets, we got them across the finish line just this past week. So they've opened up Sunday voting. And again, this is not so much about an extra day or an extra couple of days. This is about an event. The religious faith-led voters that are in the state of Georgia, the ones in the 16 counties have used it as a push to push voters to the polls to vote on certain measures. And we want all of the counties that we're targeting to have that same opportunity. Forsyth County and Forsyth and Bartow are be two other counties that we'll be targeting in the next week. We are also I actually feel that those two counties will also be approving it too. Again, these will be kind of base points for which LAA will operate and put out, get out the vote efforts, voter registrations, educating pastors and congregations about America First issues and topics. And so we're very hopeful that it will lead to some really great results in the upcoming elections. We are partnering with other organizations that have similar interests, such as Turning Point USA. They have a faith division that has opened up operation in Georgia. And so we will be coordinating with them to work on voter registration efforts in churches that have already expressed an interest. And then I'm also working with an organization, a Catholic organization, which is focused on voter education and get out the vote efforts, and it had very big success in states like Wisconsin. So there'll be more details, but a lot of exciting things are happening on the Patriotic Souls to the Polls front, and we're looking for volunteers on that effort too. So I welcome whoever is interested to reach out to me directly. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks. I want to elaborate on that a little bit on two things. Number one is that it's a two-step process. We have all these progressive counties where it's legal, and come election day, they round up all their progressive left-wing churches and march them all to vote together. It's a very good way of maximizing voter turnout as well as voter registration and making sure they vote the way they think they're supposed to vote. For us, it's also a two-part process. We have to, first of all, get these counties to flip, and we've done that for 2 counties. We've got many more counties on the board that are going to follow suit. But the second part of this, as he mentioned, is working with others, working with the churches to, as we call it, church the vote, meaning getting more people in each of these churches to register, because there are about 15% of them in the evangelical churches in rural Georgia who are not registered to vote. And we know what a difference 15% of the vote of an important demographic like that can make in a state like Georgia. We've all seen that. But also getting those pastors and people within those churches to use the power of peer pressure to get them all to vote together and make it a social event on the Sundays leading up to an election. But I want to sort of just make another point here is that we hear a lot about the need for political action, the need for to fight against all the evil things that are going on in our country. And it's always so abstract. You turn on cable news, or you listen to the radio or podcasts or something, they're always talking like 9,000 feet, and it has absolutely no relevance to anything on the ground. The success that the LAA, under Brandon's leadership of this program in Georgia, have made, that is real. Flipping to conservative Christian counties, Hall and Cherokee, so that their religious folks can be rallied to vote together, and before they vote, they hear a message from their pastor kind of reminding them what really matters in these elections. That is real. That is something that so much about what you hear, it's completely absent from so many other organizations' agenda where they're talking about big issues and they say the kinds of things that rile crowds up and it's very sexy stuff and it gets people up on their feet and cheering. No, this is the hard work of community organizing. It isn't sexy. It's not easy. It's very difficult. Brandon has sat through countless meetings with state legislators. I have sat through countless meetings. We've been trying to get this thing off the ground for like over 6 months now, and had one door slammed in our face after another. One person, one state legislator, one county leader, etc., say they'd help us and then completely ghost on us. But we persisted and we haven't given up. And guess what? Now we have real concrete wins on the board and more to come. And this is the real work. This is the real stuff that Look Ahead America gets done all over the country. I'm very proud of this project, and I can't wait to see so much more to come of it. And we'll probably be down there in Georgia real soon doing a formal launch of it. But this is the kind of thing that actually makes a difference in an election. And it will make a difference in the state of Georgia moving forward. With that, let's go to Kimmy.
I have a few updates. In December, we recorded 2 episodes for the Political Prisoner podcast. The first for December was an interview with J6 prisoner Jeremy Brown. He called in from the Pinellas County Jail where he is currently being held. And the second episode was with J6 prisoner Jake Lang. We spoke from the DC prison where he has been since last January. Very powerful stuff going on here. If you have not heard our podcast yet, you can find us on Anchor, Apple, or your favorite platforms. We also, once an episode is released, we share that on our social media, also on our website. We've got multiple ways to connect with the podcast. Please check it out and share. Regarding the recent J6 Vigils, it was an absolute grassroots movement and show of courage, strength, and support by citizen volunteers across the country. Some had small crowds. Maybe it was a group of 2 or 3 people gathered together. Some drew larger crowds. We had vigils in the snow. We had them in the rain. They were indoors. They were outdoors. It was a tremendous effort. And a few highlights from those vigils, in particular for Texas, the New Braunfels vigil was hosted by a J6 defendant, and one of the Dallas vigils was co-hosted by a J6 wife and a J6 mom. We also know that many were attended by J6 family members and defendants. For those of us gathered here on this meeting, if you hosted a vigil or if you attended one, thank you. I've spoken with some of the prisoners. You definitely made a difference. It's greatly appreciated. And just to wrap up on the National Training Conference, As we mentioned earlier, and it's in the chat, our messaging here, the dates are Friday through Sunday, March 4th through March 6th. I do encourage you to make your hotel reservation sooner rather than later, because we do have a limited time for the special priced rooms, and we will be sending out the hotel reservations so that you can either call the hotel directly, or we have a special hotel link where you can make your reservation online, and we'll include the instructions for how to do that as well. And that's all that I have from my department.
Very good, Kimmy. Appreciate that. And again, one of the things I'm most proud about for our vigils, I mean, from Florida to New York to Hawaii and everywhere in between, so many of these were organized by people who had never before organized anything in their life. And to me, that says a lot about the fortitude of the American people, the fortitude of our patriots, but also our future. And that bodes well for Look Ahead America, that we're able to encourage and inspire people to come forward and do things outside of their comfort zone. I was also very touched too, because I wasn't aware of this, but wasn't aware of it beforehand, but Ashley Babbitt's mother came and spoke at our event in Washington, D.C. at the prison. And it was very touching, very moving that she wanted to step forward and take the microphone. And we're very honored by her presence. But that story was repeated over and over again. We saw great courage in New York City where Antifa attacked our rally, but they couldn't stop it. And that's exactly the kind of strength we're going to need to save our J6 Patriots and to save our country in general. And to reiterate, the National Training Conference, I really hope that everybody can be there. Again, we chose Dallas because it's the cheapest place on average to fly in the country. We chose a very inexpensive but safe hotel in the airport area. I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible there. John, Field Director for Maricopa County and the Look Ahead Arizona project. Give us an update about our America Fest and stuff going on in Phoenix.
Sure, absolutely. So right before we went on vacation and everything, we had America Fest. Huge success. We had 484 volunteers. That's not just from Arizona, that's all over the state. Mostly young people as well who loved our mission, loved what we had to say, and signed up to volunteer with us, which was great. We recently just had our candlelight vigil at the Capitol where about 50 people showed up. It was fantastic. A lot of good people. A lot of people we didn't even know showed up to the event, which was really nice, and we got some good coverage from that. Upcoming event-wise, can we get Kate Miles to mute, please? Thank you. Thanks, Kate. And obviously for the next coming weeks, we have two huge events on the same day. We have the Pro-Life March here in Phoenix, where we have about 7 volunteers deployed with our team. As well as that same day, we add in Florence. Donald Trump is coming. He's going to be doing a huge rally where he's going to be kind of putting forth his next couple of year agenda. So we have about 7 volunteers signed up to work that all day long. The event is at 7. People are going to be waiting in line. So we're going to be talking to every single patriot who even comes within 50 feet. We're going to have people getting them registered to vote, sign up, and just mobilizing as much as we can. So those are our 2 big plans going forward. Thank you very much, John. Next up, Ian, with the research group, give us an update on what you've been up to.
Well, that's first of all really exciting. I'm pretty stoked to see all the positive news in Georgia and Arizona. So that really gives me hope for the next elections to see all that coming out. Some good news, our research team, I see some of the people on there from our group. Everyone received their t-shirts at last. Next time I want to see y'all wearing them, but great for you to show up here. We've had some progress. We released the Texas Senate Bill 1, SB 1 that completed. Had a good interview on People's Pundit and Rob Taylor, which is great. 538 also is going to be publishing an interview regarding Look Ahead and the Voter Integrity Project that I had with them like last month about all the reports we've done. So that should be coming out tomorrow. I'm hoping it's fair. We'll see. And we also did, as y'all know, the Arizona rally. That went quite well. We actually sent out, we oversaw the streaming of that on the Discord server. And we even sent out our fines. This is going to be on the report tomorrow, a little preview, but we did send it out to AG Brnovich after the rally. So that'll be in the report. So you'll see in the news. We also, as far as some of the other work we've done, I spoke to pretty much all the team leaders on the research group, as well as a few SVCs for some feedback on what is working, what wasn't. And we really want to see if we can, Matt talked about abstraction. We really want to get more done on the local level and state level. So out of that, we converted the 6 integrity points for elections into legislation drafts. So all of you who are SVCs can now take this to your legislators and say, here's a draft. You can modify it, of course, but this is it. So you have to recreate the wheel. Here's a cover page, so you have a background about it, we introduce it. Craig also, who's the SVC of Virginia, and who's going to be stepping down from my research team, which is a shame. He's an awesome team leader, but I really appreciate all the work he's done with us. He helped create a visualizer to see the state progress of the bills related to the 6 integrity points. So if you're a team leader, you can, or sorry, I call you team leader, that's my team. If you're a state volunteer coordinator, you can look at, where your state is in terms of, has it completed this integrity point? Is it partially there? Is it just the bill? Is it, where's it at? And one other thing is right now we got going is, we also helped get out with this with the candidates running. I want to also say thank you to my research team who found that list of pretty much everyone who's in the state running it to find out to contact them. And we also have a Wikipedia page that has been submitted. They have like a 3,000 article backlog, but it looks like it's moving forward. It looks like it's going to be approved. So that's really pretty exciting. And I want to hand it off to Chris in a second, but with the Discord, I do recruit from there. I do see people who do a lot of work in terms of, hey, I find these articles, I find this kind of stuff. I do pull people out who I notice are quite attentive to stuff, whether it's vaccines or CRT. And I do try to see if we also do screenings on there too. So I'm going to transition into some of that. But Chris, if you want to take it from here.
Well, before Chris goes, though, I do want to make a point here is that, and this is a point I've made before, but how many other supposed America First / conservative / America organizations actually have a Discord server? Essentially 0. And it's very important to us because we're trying to go places, whether it's doing registration of voters outside movie theaters or gyms, or going into a local social club to talk about why we need to get down the school board meetings and talk about the problems with CRT and pass the Pro-America resolution, or whether you're just going to your local church, as you are in Georgia, saying, hey, we need to get organized so we can all vote together on Patriotic Souls to the Polls Sundays. Going into places that are very productive in the long term for us, but have been neglected so far by many of the others who pretend to be in this space, is a really important part of our agenda. And I think that one of the best examples of that is our Discord server, which is extremely well managed, has a very sharp team of moderators, and is led by our good friend Chris. So Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Matt. I love that introduction, and Happy New Year to everyone. So I guess I'll go ahead and get started. Let's start off with a special day, which I want to point out, which was January 6th was a special day this January, but also on January 5th, the day before, we surpassed 3,000 members on our Discord. So I thought that was a pretty cool metric. We're growing. We're still growing, even though we're one of the few conservative platforms or servers that are even on Discord. It's generally not a friendly place for conservatives, but we're staking our flag, and we're still here. So growth is good. User retention is good. We have, looks like 20%, and we're holding steady, but I would like to bump those numbers up. So I'll go ahead and get started with just some things that happened this last week. Last Tuesday, Erin, one of our community members and one of our moderators and just all around wonderful woman, she did an AMA interview with David Sermal, who is from a site called StopHate.com, and he was also at the Capitol on January 6th. So we did a great AMA interview with him, and we screened his J6 documentary, Writing History, which we streamed and we recorded. So we'll maybe clean up the recording a little bit and publish that as well for those who missed it and are interested in watching that. Last Sunday, we also did a bit of a low-key screening of another J6 documentary called Capital Punishment, which was surprisingly good. I was kind of blown away by it myself. And we kept it low-key because we're currently trying to book an interview with the producer. His name is Nick Searcy. Aaron's working on that as well. And he's a busy man, but hopefully if we can organize something, then we'll do an official AMA interview with him and a screening of his film. So I also want to point out Friday nights are usually our game nights. Last Friday we did Jackbox Games hosted by Gearsire. However, this Friday, he's taken the day off, and we're actually doing a debate night hosted by Tron Legacy, one of our senior moderators. So debate night's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and I really would like everyone to attend. It's going to be a great time. The last debate night that we did was amazing. It was a lot of fun. We just really start off with silly topics to break the ice, like should Die Hard be considered a Christmas movie? Like something simple just to kind of get the ball rolling, and then we get into more serious subjects. So feel free to listen in from the audience or join us in any of the debates that we do. The topics are currently to be announced. We also have our book club hosted by Abdul Aziz. Yesterday, we had a meeting where we went over the Federalist Papers, essays 1 through 17. And there was a lot of great insight from our different members and a lot of great discussion overall. So anyone is welcome to join, even if you don't have the book or, the Federalist Papers you can find online. But even if you don't have the time to read them, you can still just join our book club and follow along and just listen to the great discussions there. One other thing I want to bring up is our gigs channel. So we have hundreds of users that have registered their skill sets on our server. It's like writing, media editing, software development, music, you name it. And so if you're looking for fellow patriots that have a particular set of skills, please make a post in our gigs channel and we'll try to connect you with our fellow members. I'd really like to get the ball rolling on that because we have a lot of talent that signed up to our Discord. And last but not least, we are looking for opportunities to network with other Telegram, Facebook groups so that we can collaborate with them and promote LEA events. The Look Ahead America newsletter, which is great. I always like to promote that and say that, for all other newsletters that I've either willingly joined or unwillingly joined, the LEA newsletter it's never any sort of spam whatsoever. It's just all on-point content. So I'd love to promote that through other social media channels, also other productions like the J6 Political Prisoner podcast. We're looking to collaborate with other social media groups to get the message out. And so anybody that's interested to help us out with that, or just to join our Discord in general, I went ahead and posted the link in the in-call messages here. So it's discord.gg/lookaheadamerica. And I hope to see you guys there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Those numbers are very promising. I just want to remind everybody that they do on Sundays typically run a really good film, and it's a nice chance to watch it with others to discuss it. And there's a lot going on. There's so many channels where they're talking about do-it-yourself projects, about hunting, about arts or crafts, literature, etc. You can find it on that server. And I know that Discord is something new to many of you, so I'm actually going to ask Chris if you could also put in chat a link to the video on how to do Discord. We had one of our very loyal members put together a wonderful video. Remind me the name, who put that video together, Chris?
It was Tron Legacy. Tron. He actually put together a nice little introductory video on how to sign up for Discord.
Yeah, it is a boomer-safe video on how to get onto Discord. And my mom's on it, so it works. So with that, I kind of want to wrap things up. There was a mention of a March for Life event, I think, happening in Arizona. I think that tomorrow I'm going to send out an email to the list and everybody else as well, saying that, look, I will be marching the March for Life in D.C., so if you want to join me, I'll put up a rally point where we can meet and go together. If you're not already going there with a church or something like that, I think that we should probably go together if you are going and you're not otherwise networked. I also want to reiterate that we need state volunteer coordinators, and we need volunteers. If you've got 10 to 15 hours a week to volunteer and you like working with people and you are okay on technology, you can kind of use basic technology, please sign up to be a state volunteer coordinator. There are many states and parts of states we don't have anybody. So you can sign up to do that at lookaheadamerica.org/lead. That's lookaheadamerica.org/lead. Otherwise, if you haven't signed up to volunteer with us, that's right on the website, lookaheadamerica.org. Just click on volunteer and let us know, maybe you're not up for being a state volunteer coordinator, but you can still dedicate some time or skills or join research group or something like that. That's the place to let us know. I also want to point out that we have another very important date coming up, January 20th. Now, who here knows what January 20th is? Julie, unmute yourself.
Well, that was the day that I went to Washington, D.C. for President Trump's departure speech.
Oh, okay, but what else is, okay, all right. We don't have any good guess. That is the 1-year anniversary of the relaunch of Look Ahead America. And working on our annual report, and I cannot overstate the amount of work we have done in the last year and how little budget we have. As a national organization with a massive staff, our national budget is around $230,000 a year. Now, I'm in D.C. right now, and there are organizations with $20 million budgets, and I have no idea what they've done. You go to their website, just a couple articles here or there, and a very illustrious list of staff and co-staff and partners and fellows, but nothing gets done. Whereas with Look Ahead, with our meager national budget, we have, I think, moved mountains. And I would like everybody who's listening, all the folks who are at this meeting who may be listening to audio of it later, to think about that. And, we could do so much more the more staff we have, the more resources we have. And just to keep what we have going, we've got to be able to maintain that budget. So please think really hard about what you might be able to contribute to our organization financially. I think we announced it earlier, but our 501c3 status was reinstated retroactively. So all contributions to us in the past and moving forward are completely tax deductible. They are also undisclosed unless you're giving more than $50,000. If you're giving more than $50,000, we actually have some ways to help you out with that too, to help you protect yourself from being targeted. But we're very grateful for the contributors we've had so far, but we need so many more. And look, just imagine what we could do if we added like a 0 to the end of our budget. Just imagine. And again, all of you who are listening to my voice, who are on our email list, who are at this meeting, we'll get a copy of our annual report, and you see all the stuff we've done. From the Georgia Patriotic Souls to the Polls project to something I don't know why it wasn't on the agenda, but to the America First candidate briefings, to our CRT resolution that's being pushed across all of these states and all these school districts, to our fights for voter integrity, to the many reports produced by research group, to the incredible outreach work that's being done on our Discord server, to so many different programs and projects that we've been engaged in over the last year, and our rapid expansion into all kinds of different directions of community organizing. So please keep all of that in mind and ask all of you to really consider making a contribution to us as we get closer to our 1-year anniversary. I will now ask Ms. Kimmy, if you want to start, if you can read some of the questions that you've documented. Some questions I'm sure got answered in the course of the conversation we've had, but if any of them seem particularly salient to you, just go ahead and throw them out.
Sure. One of the questions is about the National Training Conference. Will lobbying training be part of that?
Yes, although we don't use the word lobbying. We use the word official education. So elected official education, where we target them and explain to them. Because of our tax status, we don't technically do lobbying, but we can go walk into somebody's office and read to them our reports on election malfeasance. We can share with them our public policy objectives for how to secure the elections, for election integrity, and tell them why that's a good thing. and why they need to pass that. And, we've done that successfully. We've got bills introduced because we went and met with state legislators and they said, oh, this is a great idea, we should introduce it. But yeah, that will be a very big part of it. And, a big part of it too isn't just lobbying. We've put very little attention other than J6 on federal. A lot of our efforts have been on state and local, and that's where we start to win these small battles initially. Kim, do you have any other questions?
Yes. Can we create a preferred documentary watching list? For example, some of those titles that Chris was mentioning?
I think that sounds like a great discussion to have on our Discord server. What are some great documentaries? So whoever asked that, I encourage you to hop on our Discord server and take a look at that. I mean, I don't want to, there's a bunch of different lists over, good patriotic documentaries, but I think the best way to answer that question is through discussion with your fellow patriots, 3,000 of them on our Discord server.
We have another question. How do we know who our state coordinator is?
I would suggest that if you signed up to volunteer, that you, first step, sign up to volunteer. Second step, reach out to Julie Fisher. So send an email to info@lookaheadamerica.org, and she'll get back to you on that. Sometimes people email me directly, but I think, Julie, you get info@, right? I'm pretty confident of that. And if not, we'll fix that. Yes, you do. Okay, good. Yeah, so that's where you get your question answered in terms of your state volunteer coordinators. And guess what? If you ask the question and we don't have one, you're the state volunteer coordinator. So.
There are a few other questions, but those questions are coming in specific to our state volunteer coordinators. So I know Julie will address those. Everything else we've answered throughout this session.
Okay, well, look, I'm really grateful for everybody turning up. This went on a little bit long. I apologize for that. We will be posting audio of it subsequent to this. And look, I'm very grateful we have a record turnout for this meeting in person. I think it crested in the mid-50s, which is very promising. And we'll continue to hold these meetings once a month and give you guys a little bit of warning so more people can attend. So I'm very proud of all my staff. I want to thank them for all their work. Very proud of all of our volunteers, all of our state volunteer coordinators, and everybody that has helped made everything we've done in the last month and the last year so successful. So with that, America first, America forever. Good night.